Alright, this is Matt. Shalom, praise Yahweh Shema Shah, the blind Pastor JMS is I'm now eloquent coming at you in the video. And this is part 2 of the last video I did about Satan cast out Satan. So let's go back to the verse I ended at. Matthew chapter 12 verse 24. But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, This fellow doeth cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of devils. So we already went into Beelzebub last part. So it said, so when Yahweh Shah had healed this man who was dumb, meaning he couldn't speak, and he was, blind and dumb. When he cured this man who was blind and dumb, blind because he couldn't see, and dumb because he couldn't speak. They said he cast out devils, but by the prince of devils. I mean, he casting out this devil with the spirit of the devil. Satan is on this man. The devil is on this man. This is what they're saying. This is what the Pharisees are saying about Yahweh Shah, the one who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ. Verse 25. So it says, But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, This fellow doeth cast out devils, but by the prince of devils. But by the prince of the devils. And Yahweh Shah knew their thoughts and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Right. So a kingdom that's divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. In other words, if a house or if a city or kingdom is divided against itself, it's not going to stand. It's going to be brought to desolation. Because think of a kingdom that has infighting. Think of a household that has infighting, that has commotion, that has drama. Eventually it's going to fall apart. So let's see what the Lord is saying. Continue on. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? So just as a kingdom can't be divided against itself, yet it will fall. How could if Satan cast out Satan, which they claim Yahweh Shah has Satan on him, if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. So if Satan is casting out one of his own, he's divided against his own self. He's warring with his own self. How shall then his kingdom stand? So if a kingdom can't stand if it's divided against his own self, how can you say Satan is casting out Satan? If so, his kingdom will not be able to stand because he's divided against his own self. And if I by Beelzebub, which makes complete sense, if Satan is casting out another one of his demons, then he's divided against his own self. Why? Because he is at odds of one of his own. Therefore, his kingdom will not stand. He doesn't have any power. And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. Now what does that mean? And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? So they were saying that Yahweh Shah was casting out devils by the prince of the devils, which is Beelzebub. So Yahweh Shah is saying, if I by Beelzebub, according to you, if you're saying that through Satan, he's casting out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? When he says children, he means the disciple, the Pharisees' disciples. In other words, the people that followed the Pharisees. You know, the Jews that followed them. Their disciples, so to speak. Their students. So if I'm casting out, if I, according to you, by the power of Satan, is casting out these devils, by whom do your children cast them out? In other words, your followers, your disciples, your students. So if I'm casting out devils through the power of the devil, the followers that you have, if they're so-called casting out devils, then who are they casting out devils by the power of? Because if I'm casting out devils by the power of devils, and they're casting out devils as well, don't that also mean that they're casting out devils through the power of the devil too? Therefore they shall be your judges. In other words, their actions shall judge you, meaning their actions shall bear witness of your statement. In other words, if they're casting out devils, if you're saying that I'm casting out devils by the power of the devil, then that means your students, your disciples, your followers, they're casting out devils by the power of the devil as well. Or if not, if you say they're casting out devils, now surely they wouldn't say that about their own followers, correct? Because how would that make the Pharisees look? So of course they wouldn't agree with that. So if they were to say that their followers are casting out devils through the power of the Most High, then wouldn't that also mean that Yahweh Shah is casting out devils by the power of the Most High as well? This is what he's implying. How do we know that? Because the next verse says, But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, by the Spirit of the Most High, then the kingdom of the Most High has come upon you. So if you're saying that I'm casting out devils by the power of the devil, then who are your students? Who are your followers? Who are your disciples? Who are your children, in other words, casting these devils out in the power of who? Because if I'm doing it by the power of the devil, they got to be doing it by the power of the devil too. Therefore, they shall be your judges. So if I'm casting out devils by the power of the devil, then so are they. So their actions are going to bear witness against you. So guess what? You got students, followers, disciples, in other words, children, that got Satan on them. Now, surely they wouldn't agree with that. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of the Most High, which he is doing that, then the kingdom of the Most High is come unto you. But if I'm casting out devils by the Spirit of the Most High, then the kingdom of the Most High has come unto you. Why? Because Yahweh Shai casting out devils is a sign that the kingdom coming. Okay? So Yahweh Shai is saying this to show that the Pharisees were biased, to show that the Pharisees were being hypocritical, that they will be impartial. Okay? Because if you're saying I'm casting out devil through the power of the devil, then who are your followers casting them out? Let them be your judges. So Yahweh Shai straight up cut them right there. Quick scripture, Luke 7:20. When the men will come, verse 19, and John calling unto him 2 of his disciples, sent them to Yahweh Shai, saying, Art thou he that should come, or look we for another? Meaning, are you the Messiah? Are you the one sent from the Most High? Okay? In fact, let me read up a little bit. Luke 7:12. Now when he came nigh to the city, told me Yahweh, nigh to the gate of the city, behold, there was a dead man carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and much people of the city was with her. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her, and said unto her, Weep not. And he came and touched the bier. In other words, like the casket. Bier. Casket, coffin. A stand or frame used to carry or display a coffin. And they that bare him stood still. And he said, Young man, I say unto thee, arise. And he that was dead sat up, and began to speak, and he delivered him to his mother. And there came a fear on all. Okay, they saw a man be risen from the dead, so they was all afraid, they were scared. And they glorified the Most High, saying that a great prophet is risen up among us, and that the Most High hath visited his people. And this rumor of him went forth throughout all Judea, and throughout all the region round about. And the disciples of John showed him all of these things. And John, calling unto him 2 of his disciples, sent them to Yahweh Shai, saying, Art thou he that should come, or look we for another? So the disciples of John had mentioned these things to John. So the John said, Yo, listen, go ask him, is he the one we search for? Do we look for another? When he heard about this great miracle, John inquired. When the men were come unto him, they said, John the Baptist hath sent us unto thee, saying, Art thou he that should come, or look we for another? And in that same hour he cured many of their infirmities and plagues and of evil spirits, and unto many that were blind he gave sight. See, just like you remember Matthew 12? Then Yahweh Shai answered and said unto them, Go your way and tell John what things ye have seen and heard, how the blind speak, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, to the poor the gospel is preached. So these are all signs of the coming of the kingdom of heaven. Yahweh Shai doing all of these different miracles. That's what Yahweh Shai said, if he cast out spirits through the power of the Most High, which that's what Yahweh Shai was doing and still does. And then is the kingdom of heaven come unto you. Why? Because if Satan's kingdom is being casted out by Yahweh Shai casting out these demons over people, so if his kingdom is being casted out, then it means the Most High's kingdom is being established. Okay? And I want to get one more scripture going back into that situation when he mentioned about if who do your disciples who do your children cast devils out in the spirit of? Acts 19:13. Then certain of the vagabond Jews exorcists took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai, saying, We adjure you by Yahweh Shai, whom Paul preaches. In other words, by Yahweh Shai, who Paul preacheth, they calling themselves to command these spirits to come out of the people. Verse 14, and there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew, and of the chief priest, which did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahushua I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye? And the men in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them, and overcame them, and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of the house naked and wounded. My point going into that is to show you, you had Jews who claimed to be exorcists, Jews who claimed to cast out evil spirits, to give you an idea of why Yahushua would make a statement like that. Back in Matthew 12:28, but if I cast out devils by the Spirit of the Most High, then the kingdom of the Most High has come unto you. Verse 29, and the last verse, or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man? So if a person was to break into somebody's house and spoil their goods or rob them of their possessions, you gotta bind that strong man first. You gotta tie him up. You gotta basically hold him captive, because he's a strong man. He'll try to fight you. So in order for you to get his goods, his possessions, you gotta bind a strong man first, and then he will spoil his house. In other words, you gotta bind up Satan and cast him out. In other words, you have to bind up those demons that's on people. So in this particular case, the goods is the possessed man, the possessed person, or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods? In this case, the goods or the possession is this man, this possessed man. In order for you to rid this man of the spirits that's possessing him, you gotta first bind or subdue Satan and spoil his goods. In other words, remove or take away the spirits that's possessing that man. So this is how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods? In other words, the goods in the situation represents what? A possessed man who's being possessed by Satan, who's the strong man. But in order for you to spoil those goods, or in order for you to remove that evil spirit from that possessed man, you first gotta bind the strong man. You first have to subdue him. So by removing the spirit that's possessing this man, that is a telltale sign that Satan is being subdued, and then he will spoil his house. So Yahushua has to subdue Satan with the spirit and power of the Most High, and by subduing Satan with the spirit and power of the Most High, the strong man, he's then able to remove the evil spirits that's possessing that man. In other words, spoil the goods of that strong man. Okay? So with that, I'm going to close and say, oh, praise to how about Shemel Shah. That belongs to the Apostle Jim Mess. I hope you learned something. Shalom.